So today's daf, of course, is Pei Daled. We'll start here on the bottom of Pei Gimel Mid Beis Boimine Ravamir of Nachman Hayomi Iat Ishti Lemochat Ishti, and he wants to set up a get that the gerushin should be held just for one day, and then after the gerushin is paka, a day later, tomorrow, they resume their ishus mahu tiboy LeRabbi Eliezer v'tiboy LeRabbanan. Tiboy LeRabbi Eliezer ad kan lo kom Rabbi Eliezer Hasam. He was machshir girushay chutz ella de lemanda kashari liolo. At least as far as those people who is matir, hareat muteres, etc., that was a heter liolam. Aval hachalo. Here it's only a heter for one day. Odimalo shlosh, we say it doesn't matter whether he was mishayer in the people for whom he was matir through the get, or he was mishayer in the amount of time that the get would be chal. In both cases, it is considered a get kosher. Tiboy l'Rabbanon, ad kam lo kol Rabbanon hasam el lo paska mine legamre, aval hacha came into paska. Here, at least for that one day, it was a complete gerushin without any shear. And therefore, maybe the Rabbanon would be moda in this case that the get is kosher. Basadi pai, other pashta. Now he answers his question, and we're on daf pei dal. Mistabra bein l'Rabbi Eliezer, bein l'Rabbanon came into paska, which means that the gerushin, once it's chal, that's it. The ishus is gone, and this Tanai in which he wants to resume the ishus a day later is completely invalid. It's null and void. And this reminds us by sheer association of the sugya nedarim of Bar Pada, the famous sugya, where a person wants to be magdish a behemoth for one day, and Bar Pada applies the principle of kedusha lo paka b'chdi. And so too in marriage, the ishus is kedushin, and the kedusha can't be paka. Once it's chal b'chdi, you need to get to be mafkir the ishus. And here, in a sense, we're applying the same logic in the reverse, meaning that if he's megarisha for a day, then once the gerushin is chal, the kedusha of kedushin is paka, and now you would need a new kedushin to be mechadish the kedushin the ishus. Tana Rabbana, we learned in a brisa. Hareza gitech al menashe tinasi leploni. I'm giving you this get on the condition that you marry so and so. Harezu lo tinase. She should not marry so and so. But v'im niseis b'di'evet lo teitze. Maika Amar. What does it mean in the brisa lo tinase? Does it mean that she should not marry anyone, no matter who he is, or she should not marry Ploni? Amar of Nachman Hachi Kama Harezu Lo Tinase Lo. She should not marry him. And we're going to see a special reasoning that underlies this ruling of Rav Nachman, but she can marry anyone else. And what's the reason why she cannot marry him? Shema Yomru Nisheim Nosnim V'Matana. I'm going to give away my wife as a gift to you. So I'm going to be Magarisha and you take her. And only you could marry. And the Rabbanan did not accept such a thing. When a person gives a get to a woman owes matana for that person, and that's kind of a laws on the whole institution of marriage. And the Rabbanan said that we're not going to recognize that Tanai, and therefore we're not going to allow her to marry him, because if she marries him, it looks like he gave away his wife as a matana. But if she went ahead and she married someone else, lo teitze. So the Gemara asks the following kasha: Mishum gzeira lo mafkinan minei v'sharinan eishesish li alma. Are we saying that the get really is not chal because there's no possibility of kiyuma tanai? We're not allowing kiyuma tanai in this case. So if the tanai is batel, then she's not megureshes, she's an eishesish. So how can we matter her to that person whom she got married to if there was no kiyuma tanai? Elam Rav Nachman Hachi Kamer Harezu lo tinase lo shema yomru nesheim nosnu matanim. This is lo teitze. the get is chal, and even if she would marry this person about whom we made a gzera that she should not marry him, nevertheless, b'di'eved lo teitze. So we see that we recognize the get, and we're not mavatal tonight. Just it's gzera lechatchila that she should not marry that so and so. And in niseis lo teitze nishum gzera lo mafkidin, because based on the gzera that a person is giving away his wife as a gift, we're not going to be mafkia this wife if this husband from this wife if the fellow went ahead and married her. So it means that the get is kosher, and it could be mater holy alma. But in this case, low, if she gets married to that person because of the gzera, then that was a violation of the gzera, but lo teitze, we're not going to be mafkia the ishus b'di'eved. And now we're up to Omar le Rav. Omar le Rav. Rav says to Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman says that if a man gives a get to his wife on the condition that she marries so-and-so, then she's not allowed to get married to so-and-so. So Rava says to Rav Nachman, Lo hu de lo tinase holi acher tinase. Are you saying that she can marry anyone else, but not him? But he made a tanai that she won't be married, that she would marry so-and-so. We'll call him Reuven. And she didn't marry Reuven. So if she went ahead and married someone else, we'll call him Shimon or Levi or Yisachar, whoever it is, then how could that marriage be valid? She wasn't Makayim the Tanai in her Gerishim, namely to be married to Reuven. Maybe you'll argue that she could marry someone else today. After a period of time, that person will divorce her, and she'll go and get married to Reuven, and the Tanai will be Mekuyim L'Mafreya. So we're going to be mater her to get married today because we're not choshesh that maybe she won't be Mekayim the Tanai tomorrow. So the Gemara asks, Ulahach de pligas alei de Rav Yehuda kamidamisle. Are you Rav Nachman holding that this case is similar to the case in which you yourself argue against Rav Yehuda, the Itmar? We have a record of machlokas between Rav Yehuda and Rav Nachman in the following case. Konam eine v'shena yom. So he prohibits his eyes from sleeping today in Isha L'machar if I will sleep tomorrow. In other words, I won't sleep tomorrow. And therefore I'm allowed to sleep today. And Amar Rav Yehuda, lo al yishan yom, shema yishan l'machar. We're not going to allow him to sleep today because he may fall asleep tomorrow. If he falls asleep tomorrow, then he was Mekayim the Tanai, and the Konim is chal to prohibit him from sleeping today. So we can't take any chances. And Rav Nachman Amar Yishan Yom, nothing to worry about. Let him sleep today, and tomorrow he won't sleep. And if he won't sleep tomorrow, then there's no Kiyam Tanai, and then there was no Konom that prohibited him from sleeping. So that which he slept today was mutvei choshen shavishan l'machar. And we're not choshish that tomorrow he will sleep. He'll make sure that he doesn't fall asleep tomorrow. So there's a bitla tonight, and therefore the konim is not chal. So now we go back to the case of Rav Nachman, in which we're saying that she's not allowed to get married to so-and-so because of the gzera, but she can marry someone else. If she can marry someone else, it means that we assume that she will be married to him. Is Hachi Hashda, Rav rejects this analogy, and he says, Hasam b'didei kaima. He is in control, and therefore he could do whatever he has to do to make sure that tomorrow he won't sleep, and that therefore there'll be a bittul atnai, and the kodim will not be chal. How could he guarantee that he won't sleep? Mariz nafshi b'silva v'asa v'lo noim. He will sit on pins and needles like they do in Tibet or wherever they do it, and he knows he won't sleep. But Hacha here, B'dida kaima legrushe, is it in her control that the second husband that she marries, will call Shimon, would give her a get so that then she could get married to Reuven? The Kiyum Tanai is not within her dominion, her control. And therefore, even according to Rav Nachman, who in general says that we're not choshesh, that maybe the Tanai will not be fulfilled, he'll make sure that he does what he has to do. But here, it's not within her control. Elamar Rava, therefore Rava says, we have to reinterpret the Brisa, Rezu lo tinasi lo lo v'lo leach. She's not allowed to marry neither him because of the Gzera, and she can't marry someone else because we're afraid she'll never be Mekayim the Tanai. So basically, she'll need another get. Lolo tinasi, she can't marry Ruvain, Shema because the spectators will say, she'll say him nos matana. They're giving away their wives as a gift. Liachar lo tinase, she can't marry anyone else to buy l'kiyumei tonight. She has to be Mekayim the Tanai. And therefore, she doesn't have the ability to be Mekayim the Tanai if she marries someone else. So therefore, we're going to say, no, you know what? We're not going to allow you to be Mekayim the Tanai, to get married to someone else until you're Mekayim the Tanai. But on the other hand, we're not allowing you to be Mekayim the Tanai because of the Gzera of Sheva Yom Shem Nosim Matana. So at the end of the day, she needs another Gerushin without a Tanai. What happens in this case, Lo, she went ahead and she married Ruvain. Lo Teitze, Di Mishum Gzera, Lo Mafkina. We're not going to undermine an Ishus, which is valid Doraisa because of Gzera. But Liachar Teitze. But if she went ahead and married Shimon, etc., then we're going to bust up the marriage even b'di'evet the boile kiyumei tanai. She's an ashes ish until there's a kiyum of the tanai of the get. The get is not chal, and not only that, we're not going to assume that she'll be able to mekayim the tanai after she marries so and so to get a divorce from her husband and then become wedded to Reuven. Tanya kavasi de Rava hareza lo tinasi lo lov lo liacher v'im. Meaning, b'di'evet niseis lo teitze, but liacher teitze. Now, I'm just thinking out loud here. According to the final conclusion of this sugya, that she can't marry neither him, Reuven, nor anyone else, are we assuming, therefore, that the get is not chal? I mean, he gave her a get al tonight. And nafkamina would be, is he chayv b'mezonos? Does he yarshin if she dies? All the dinim of ksuba, they chal. Tana Rabbana, we learned in the Brisa, he makes a condition that's impossible to fulfill. Or al menashe terdi l'tom, that you go down to the core of the earth, impossible. Val menashe tiboli kana shel arba amos, that you'll swallow a pole that's 4 amos. And we'll see the Gemara thinks that the reason he's saying this is just to be mitzayer her. Al menashe tavili kana ben mea amo, carry a kana which 100 people couldn't carry. It's 100 amma long. Al menashe tavri esayama godol b'raglayim. Swim across the Mediterranean. Ain't no get. In all these cases, we're going to assume that when he put a Tanai in the get, and it's EF Shalakaimus at Tanai, then the get is not Chal, because the get depends upon Tanai. So in other words, the Tanakama here will soon see the dissenting opinion of Yehuda ben Tema. The Tanakama is of the opinion that the Tanai is Chal, and the get depends on the Kiyama Tanai. And since it's impossible to imagine the Kiyama Tanai, therefore, the get is batel umevutal. However, Rabbi Yehuda ben Tema, just the opposite, because they get, this is a get. Why? Because klal Omer Rabbi Yehuda ben Tema called Tanai she'ef shelo kaimo besofo evehisna lo mitchoso eno elkim afligo b'dvarim. This is not a Tanai at all. He never meant it. He wasn't serious about it. It was just his way of being mitzayer ha, and therefore the get is kosher, because there's no Tanai. Omer Rav Nachman Omer Rav Halacha Rabbi Yehuda ben Tema. The get is kosher. The Tanai is batel mevutal. Omer Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak Masnisa nami deka. There's a Mishnah about Metzia Daf Tzadidal. We could medayik the same conclusion that you derived here in our Mishnah from Rabbi Yehuda ben Tema there in the Mishnah in Bab Metzia the Ketani. It says, Kol she'efshal l'kayim v'sofa v'isna lo mitchilosa t'nokayim. And the implication is that ha'efshar l'kayim, if it's a Tanai that cannot be possibly fulfilled, then t'no bot. Shmami, no, we see that the halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda ben Betema. Iboilu, the Gemara says, Safek, if a person says, Areza Gittin, Al Menashe Tochli B'sar Chazir, that's also a Tanai that you cannot fulfill. She's not allowed to eat Chazir Treif. Ma, what's the din? Rabbi Hihi, this is exactly the case of Al Menashe Tali L'Rakia. And therefore, according to Rabbi Yehuda ben Betema, whose opinion we accept the halacha, the get is kosher, the Tanai is bottom. And there's no Tanai. Rav Amar, Efshar Diachel L'Kayim. Like Yomi, she'll get malchus. She does have the physical possibility of eating chazir. So although she's halachically enjoined, she could eat the chazir and suffer the malchus. Therefore, it's not similar to all the cases that Rabbi Yehuda ben Betera said the Tanai is bottom. Here, the Tanai is kayim. And if she doesn't fulfill the Tanai, therefore the get is not chal. L'Abaye klal l'asuye. When Rabbi Yehuda ben Betema says klal, he's coming to include, every word klal is always an inclusion, b'sar chazir. Even if he makes a Tanai al b'sar chazir, he doesn't mean the Tanai seriously, it's only mafligo b'dvarim, and he's coming to mitzayirha, and therefore the Tanai is batel mevutal. L'Rava. Rava bases his opinion on a diuk in Rabbi Yehuda ben Betema from the word kazeh. Kazeh get, meaning only this case is a get. L'me'ute b'sar chazir. In the case of b'sar chazir, the get is not chal because the Tanai is valid and she cannot fulfill the Tanai because she's not allowed to eat chazir. Im hisna shetal l'rakir v'chadoma oz kazeh get, sharei kishe'efshal l'kaima klal, I get kosher v'tanai botel. Ach, im hisna lechol chazir, she'efshal l'kaimo be'isur, as I tanai kayim, forget megarish rak im yiskayim tanai. Meisvei, the Gemara Sakash on Rava, we have a brisa that says that if a man divorces his wife and he says Tareza gitech hamanashati boili leploni. In this kayim tanai areza get. Fine. Im lav no get. Tanai is kayim because the be'ilu teploni is considered a bilas heter. And Rashi says bein biznus, bein b'nesu. Tosa says his kavanah was for bias nus, and there's an iser here of pnuya, but it's not an iser chamur like as we'll see in the hemshech. If he says Tareza gitech al manashalo tiboili la abba ula vicha, l'chora she could get married immediately because we're not afraid that she will be Makayim the Tanai, and ein choshen shemenivel lahen, that she will have beer with any one of them, and the get would be bottled. So we could really be somech on the fact that the get is valid. Ve'ilu. However, if he says to her, Al Menashe tiboili la Abba ula vicha, which again is a Tanai that's impossible to Mekuyim, Lo Katoni, the Brisa doesn't mention it. Labai Nichel or Rav Akasha. According to Abai, this is perfect because Abai holds that such a Tanai is batel mevutal because it's the Efshal Kaimo, and therefore, according to Rabbi Yehuda ben Tema, it's not a Tanai at all, and he was Megarisha without a Tanai, and therefore the get is Chal. But according to Rav Akasha, it doesn't make sense because this is a Tanai that can be fulfilled, albeit be'isur, which according to Rava's Shita, Rabbi Yehuda ben Betema recognizes the validity of the Tanai, and therefore, since she's not Mekayim the Tanai, the get is bottom. So how could the Bryce allow her to get married based on this get? In the case of a Tanai al Menashe, Tochli Basar Chazir, we say that she could eat Chazir, fulfill the Tanai, and get Malchus. Leploni Nami, if he says to her, Al Menashe Tiboli Leploni Nami Efsha de Meshachte Leba Mamona. even though it's not really in her dominion to have be'ilah with this fellow, but maybe she'll bribe him. She'll offer him enough of an offer that he won't refuse. Eli Abba Vavicha b'dida kaima? Is this a t'nai that you could possibly fulfill? Nehi de'ihi of the Isur, even if she's ready and prepared to violate this Isur Chamur, it's a capital crime. But Abba Vavich mi avdi Isur, even if you pay them all the money in the world, they will not agree to violate this Isur and have a be'ilah with her. And therefore, even Rav in this case would say that the T'nai is meaningless. This is a T'nai of the Efshel Akaim. It's exactly equivalent to Amanashe Tal Rakia, and it fits into Rabbi Yehuda ben Tema's ruling that the T'nai is not Chal. Now the Gemara wants to understand the diukim of the Lashonos of Rabbi Yehuda ben Tema, according to Rava, according to Abai. L'Rava, when Rabbi Yehuda ben Tema said Klal, Lasuye, to include the last case of Abba v'Avicha. Here the get is valid because the T'nai is meaningless, and we say that it's like Almanashe Tali L'Rakia. Chazeh, what's the meaning of Chazeh? L'Me'ute B'sar Chazir. Then in the case of B'sar Chazir, the T'nai is valid, and we say that B'mitzia she could be Mekayim the T'nai and get Malchus, and therefore the get will be invalid because of the Bittul T'nai. And here we turn to Daf Pei Dalid Amud Beis.